Hello everybody, and welcome to the Season 1 finale of the Gaming Gallery.
In this special edition, all 4 members of the channel will be discussing the development history of a very special video game.
Hello, I'm Megan Green Covers Gaming, and what game is that, you may be asking? Well, in case you couldn't tell by the video title, we'll be discussing the history of the Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
I'm your host, Pancake Armor Man.
My name is The James Rolls.
And I'm Green Coast Gaming.
And I'm Lady Garrett to you.
And without further ado, here's the beta of The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild.
We got our first glimpse at what a Zelda game in HD would look like at E3 2011, when the Wii U was first announced. This demo ran in real time, showing Link in a similar art style to Twilight Princess, battling what looks like an Armagoma. While Nintendo made it clear that this was only for a tech demo, Miyamoto, on the other hand, did confirm that a new Zelda game would be coming to the Wii U. It was on January 23rd, 2013, during a Nintendo Direct presentation, when we got our first bit of information on Zelda U. Producer Eiji Aonuma confirmed that with the new game, they would rethink the conventions of Zelda. The examples he provided were completing dungeons in a certain order and playing the game by yourself. This is very well worth mentioning, because the way Aonuma worded this sounded like Zelda U would have had some kind of multiplayer feature, but this never made it to the final version. Unless you were to count 2 different people using different Joy-Cons, but the Switch didn't exist at the time. It's also worth mentioning that Aonuma said these ideas for a more open game were considered for The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword, but didn't happen because they'd have to restructure the game's linear world. Zelda U was expected to have a long development cycle. No kidding. So to keep fans tied over until the new game was done, Nintendo also announced The Legend of Zelda The Wind Waker HD would be released later that year. They chose The Wind Waker in particular because of the Zelda HD demo at E3 2011. After seeing the positive feedback from the demo, Nintendo experimented with an HD lighting engine on other Zelda games to see what art style would work best for the new game. After seeing how much of an improvement the new lighting engine enhanced The Wind Waker, they chose to remake the entire game to keep fans busy until Zelda U would be completed. By the time Zelda U would finally come out, we'd seen 2 remakes, 2 handheld games, a crossover spin-off, a handheld port of said spin-off, and an entirely new console. It wouldn't be until E3 2014 that we'd finally get our first gameplay footage of the new Zelda game. With a snap of his fingers, Eiji Aonuma erased half of our worries away as he welcomed us to the new world of Zelda. And my, was it glorious. During this presentation, Aonuma confirmed that the puzzle solving would begin with players figuring out where to go, how to get there, and what to do when they arrived. That's literally word for word what he said, but there's really no other way to describe how ambitious this new game was. We also got our first look at what would become the Guardian's enemy, chasing Link and blowing up everything in sight. Something funny to look back on was during the first trailer, there was a bit of confusion over whether Link would be a girl in Zelda U. Aonuma replied to these questions by saying, "We never said that was Link," but later clarified that he was joking. During the Game Awards later that same year, we were treated with another look at Zelda U. Shigeru Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma played the game together while discussing new gameplay mechanics. We got our first glimpse at the paraglider, which back then still had its design from Skyward Sword, combat against some bokoblins, and the Wii U gamepad. As we can see from this video, the gamepad would have originally been much more interactive from what we got in the final version, acting as a constant map, as well as potentially accessing the inventory and runes without pausing the game, similar to the Wii U versions of The Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. After the game was confirmed for the Switch, Eiji Aonuma confirmed that the gamepad features were removed because looking back and forth between the two screens took players out of the experience of the game. There are some other minor differences which can be seen in this video, such as Link sounding like his Skyward Sword incarnation, the battle music being different, the HUD being different, the landscapes and overall world map have been changed. But what's very interesting is this magic meter that never appears in the final game. Nintendo never officially confirmed why it was removed, or what it was even used for. Our researchers speculate that this magic meter would have been used for the different arrow types, and maybe even the ability runes. Some sources also claim this could have been an early stamina meter, but again, Nintendo never officially commented on the matter. And finally, during this video, Miyamoto also comments at one point that they must be approaching a dungeon. Whether he meant a divine beast, a shrine, or some super duper secret beta dungeon, we may never know. One last thing that's worth mentioning about this video was something that Miyamoto and Aonuma said.
Are you sure that this will be released next year?
Yes. All of the staff members are working together and doing their best. By the way, Mr. Miyamoto, how about your Star Fox title?
What? Star Fox? You're asking me that now? No worries about Star Fox.
Oh, that's good news.
Star Fox will arrive before The Legend of Zelda next year.
Well, that didn't happen. Now, let's have Pancake Armor Man take over.
Alright, thank you, James. As Miyamoto and Aonuma said during the Game Awards, Zelda U and Star Fox were both planned to be released in 2015. But unfortunately, both of those games would be delayed, leaving the 2015 holiday season with... oh god, no. No. No! Delays were an unfortunate common occurrence during the Wii U era. Many of these were due to Nintendo underestimating how expensive HD game development would turn out to be. But Zelda U was a different situation. Nintendo said the delay was because the team wanted to include more gameplay ideas into the final game. But in later years, they also said that problems with the game's physics engine also contributed to the delays. Zelda U wouldn't make an appearance at all during E3 2015, which, looking back on that event, yeah, they could have definitely used the Zelda U trailer. However, during that year's E3, we did get an announcement for The Legend of Zelda Triforce Heroes, so we at least got something, even if our editor has an eternal grudge against that game because it was announced shortly after Zelda U's delay. Get over it, later gear to you. Oh, and Earthbound Beginnings was announced too. That has nothing to do with Zelda, but we don't need an excuse to talk about how awesome Earthbound is. I'm serious, really awesome. Earthbound is one of the best Nintendo series ever, and Mother 3 really needs to be released in the United States, and...
Keep going!
The next time we'd see anything from Zelda U was the Nintendo Direct on November 12, 2015, following the announcement of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess HD. Good game. There wasn't a lot of new information, but we did get a brief glimpse at the ocean region of the world, as well as confirmation that the game would come out in 2016. Which means the game wouldn't come out in 2016. You see how Nintendo works these things? They say one thing will happen and then they immediately do the other thing. It's very exciting. At this point in time, many rumors in the Nintendo NX were spreading out online. We plan on discussing these NX rumors in a future episode. But one of the most common things throughout all these leaks, quote unquote, was that Zelda U will release simultaneously on the Wii U and Nintendo NX. Many of these leaks also said that the NX would be released during the 2016 holiday season and would be fully revealed at E3 2016. Later in the year, Nintendo confirmed that Zelda U would be the main focus at E3 2016 and that the Nintendo NX wouldn't make an appearance at all. They also confirmed that Zelda U would be delayed once again and would be released for the NX, but only the Wii U version would appear at E3. And on June 14th, 2016, 3 days after our editor's birthday, we got a full unveiling of the new Zelda game, and a name, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. We got a ton of information during E3 2016. We got to see the breakable weapon system, cooking and eating, the Stone Talus Wolf Link amiibo integration, and just in general, we were spoiled with Breath of the Wild goodness. The 90-minute demo allowed attendees to freely explore the Great Plateau. Fans were very hyped to play the game, with somebody even attempting to steal the Breath of the Wild demo. Okay, that guy, really awesome. We'd see more tidbits of the game throughout the year. We saw the game running on Nintendo Switch when the console was announced, a small gameplay demonstration debuted at the Game Awards, and we'd see a new trailer during Nintendo Switch's presentation in January 2017, confirming the game as a Switch launch title. And on March 3rd, 2017, after many years of waiting, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild was finally released out in the wild. No pun intended. With Breath of the Wild now available for all to enjoy, we can't help but be curious as to what the game looked like in early development. Gator, want to help us out with that?
Thank you, Pancake. As with most games, Breath of the Wild went through a phase of experimentation during early development. One of the series conventions that Nintendo experimented with changing was the idea of Link being the main character. There were moments in previous Zelda games where you would control somebody other than Link, such as Majora's Mask or Medley and Makar in The Wind Waker, but this would have been the first game where Link wouldn't be the main character at all. Instead, Princess Zelda or a female version of Link were at one point considered for that role. This idea was unfortunately scrapped when Nintendo couldn't figure out what Link would do throughout the game's story. It's worth mentioning that a female Link would also be considered for Hyrule Warriors, but didn't happen until Linkle's debut in the 3DS version. After seeing the fan response of Linkle, Aonuma had gone on record saying he'd consider including her in a future Zelda game. Please let that happen, and please let Lana be in the Zelda series and Smash Brothers. As a way to test the team's ideas with the physics-based engine, Nintendo created a 2D build of the game that would have played very similar to the classic top-down Zelda games. This 2D build was made as a way to demonstrate how Hidemaru Fujibayashi wanted to give players more freedom to interact with their environments, and I completely apologize if I'm butchering his name. But no puzzles were made with this prototype, just a forest with some monsters. But Fujibayashi felt this was enough to demonstrate what he was hoping to achieve with the new Zelda game, although technically speaking this build wasn't in 2D at all. At the Game Developers Conference in 2017, Nintendo showed off some of the early ideas that they had for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Early designs for Link showed him with a tracksuit, on a motorcycle, as a musician, and even in a spacesuit with a Metroid partner. The Metroid, space outfit, and guitar didn't make it into the final game, but Link would get a motorcycle as part of the Champion's Ballad DLC in the form of the Master Cycle Zero. Aonuma had this to say about the Master Cycle Zero's development. I was the one who said, let's put this in the game. Both Mr. Fujibayashi and I have a motorcycle license, so before writing, I felt that the world felt pretty small just walking around and riding trains everywhere. But when I hopped onto my motorcycle, I felt the world was drastically more vast by having the freedom to go anywhere. I felt a similar sense of freedom when I played Breath of the Wild, so I thought, I want to explore this world on a motorcycle. Shortly after this, Aonuma approached his friend Kosuke Yabuki, producer of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Again, I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing these. And he told him about the idea of giving Link a motorcycle. After Yabuki played the Champion's Ballad, he felt that the Master Cycle Zero would fit in perfectly with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Going back to the Game Developers Conference real quick, Nintendo also demonstrated 3 more concepts for Zelda U. One was Hyrule Wars, one was for Link in Kyoto, Japan, and the other was The Legend of Zelda Invasion. The Hyrule Wars concept showed a Link battling an army in Hyrule Field with a massive tower in the distance, and The Legend of Zelda Invasion would feature Link fighting off an alien invasion.
One more thing I'd like to talk about real quick is Princess Zelda. Nintendo has said that her design went through several changes during development, to the point where her finalized version wasn't even decided upon until fairly late in development. Personally speaking, this may be one of the reasons why Sakurai didn't use Zelda's Breath of the Wild incarnation for Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, but this is purely speculation, and Nintendo hasn't actually commented on this.
There's a few more noteworthy topics surrounding the Game Developers Conference that we'd like to talk about before we move on. We'll have a link to the full video in the description, but here are some interesting highlights.
Now, changing subjects, I want to show you an email we received during development of the Wii U version of the game.
Nintendo Switch でもリリースするというミッションが加わりました。さすがプロデューサーです。藤林よりも強い行ってみる勇気の持ち主です。
We were given the additional mission of releasing the game for Nintendo Switch. And that's a producer for you. He has even more of that courage to say than Mr. Fujibayashi.
Nintendo Switch がもたらしたものがもう一つあります。
There's one last thing that the Nintendo Switch made possible for the game.
これは画面を見つめる我々のチームスタッフ。
The gentleman you see staring at the screen is one of the members of our development team.
見つめるだけでゲームが動いています。
The game's moving and all he's doing is staring at it.
以上で私の話は終わりです。ありがとうございました。
And that brings my part of the presentation to an end. Thank you very much.
Now, let's have Drinkerbuzz Gaming discuss some random trivia for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Early in development, there were plans to include a tiny villager, similar to the Minish from The Legend of Zelda the Minish Cap. Link would have even be able to shrink down to their size to explore the village like Alice. This idea was dropped as Nintendo figured the Gerudo, Zoras, Gorons, and Rito populated the game's world enough. The ability to climb anything in the world was one of the earliest ideas implemented into the game. Walls usually act as barriers to keep players within the game, but seeing as how this would be the first truly open world Zelda game, developers decided to give Link the ability to climb over those barriers. This is also the reason why the stamina wheel was designed to be upgradable, to help maintain the overall balance of the world. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild may contain references to some people who tragically passed away during the game's development. American actor Robin Williams was a huge fan of the Zelda series, of course he is. Even named his daughter after Princess Zelda. Nintendo featured Robin and Zelda in several commercials for the Legend of Zelda series. So when Williams passed away in 2014, fans petitioned for Nintendo to name an NPC after the beloved character. And when the game was released, fans were pleased to see the tribute appear. Kind of. The character Robbie's name is very similar to Robin, leading to fans to believe that this may be a tribute they were asking for. Another NPC named Dato also bears a striking resemblance to Robin Williams. That's not the only tribute to Breath of the Wild, and this next one has more evidence to support these theories. In 2015, former Nintendo president Satoru Iwata sadly passed away. While he was given a tribute in Star Fox Zero's ending, it is possible another one exists in Breath of the Wild as well. A character named Broatix will tell Link about a creature called the Lord of the Mountain, who lives on Satori Mountain. Barack himself bears a striking resemblance to the late Nintendo president, with his roundish face, style of glasses, and an older appearance, but Bardock isn't the only part of its potential tribute. On Satori Mountain, there are signs that somebody used to live on the mountain. Lord of the Mountain appears near a cherry blossom tree. In Japanese culture, cherry blossoms are seen as a symbol of how fragile and beautiful life can be. The biggest clue that Satori Mountain is a tribute to Iwata, aside from similarities in their games, is the Lord of the Mountain's Hierocompendium description. This noble creature watches all over all animals that make their home in the forest. Legends say this holy creature is a reincarnation of a sage that died on the lands it now protects. It has acute awareness of its surroundings, so it seldom appears before people. It is sometimes known by its other name, Satori. Shortly after Breath of the Wild release, the game director
Hidemaru Fushibayashi
had this to say about Satoru Iwata. When he passed away, there were moments we'd come up with an idea which we would be excited to talk about Iwata about.
Hidemaru Fushibayashi.
The game's director told New Yorker. Then we remember he was no longer here. Miyamoto told me it was the same for him. He'd come with an idea at the weekend and would feel excited to speak to Iwata about it on Monday. Only remember, the sadness runs deep. This is approaching spiritual talk, but we had the sense that he was watching over your work. That became a source of motivation to us, to improve us, and be better.
That's all for today, and that's it for our first season of the Gaming Gallery.
If you'd like to watch more of the Gaming Gallery, we'll have a link to our complete first season on screen for you to enjoy.
And if you want to hear more about my beautiful voice and the other voices that are dumb, we will have our individual Let's Play on screen for you to watch. So check out my Pokemon Fire Red Venom as a Nuzlocke. But YouTube hates everyone, especially young, smaller YouTubers, and only allows 4 buttons on the end screen, and they're getting rid of annotations. So instead, we'll force James to add cards on screen as well, whether he likes it or not.
Fine. Hylia, darn it.
Now, children, take a deep breath and take it out onto the wild. Okie dokie, Gator, ready to end off this episode?
Yep, let's do it!
Thank you for watching this episode of the Gaming Gallery.
And remember that in our hearts, we are gamers.
Wait, you're doing the outro without us!
And remember that in our hearts, we are true gamers. Oh wait, that's Gilly, you lying. Oh well, sorry. Sorry. Anyway, I've been Green Coast Gaming. I'm out.
Kosuki Yabuki. Kosuki Yabuki. Kosuki Yabuki. That's very fun to say. I like this guy's name.